Hello everyone, welcome to day 5 of this ACCA Performance Management webinar, and this is your instructor Rizwan Mania. I hope you all are well and happy, and yeah, the confidence that is very much important. So these 4 days would have really helped you to build up your confidence, and I hope this will be a game changer for you people. So please share your feedbacks up till now, how these 5 sessions up till now went, 4 sessions up till now were for you people. Please give your feedbacks in the chat box. Okay. So, and I hope these are the one that works good for you. And at the end of the day, what matters is, are we passing the paper or not? So I hope this webinar will overcome whatever weaknesses you have, and it will help you to ace in your examination as well. As far as my help is concerned, so I'll be with you people till the end, so that I can provide you maximum support, and you people do cover each and everything. So that's what the idea is. Now let's begin with our last session for this ACCA webinar, September 21. Okay, I'm just sharing my screen in a while. Just give me a minute. Okay. Yeah, here I am. Okay. So welcome to day 5. This is your instructor Rizwan Mania. Let's see the today's agenda. What we gonna cover in today's session. So the day-wise plan was very much clear to all you. For day-wise plan was very much clear for all of you. Today's advanced costing technique with the new syllabus changes that I'll be covering today. So first I'll start with throughput accounting, which is one of the most difficult areas for the student, and they normally are not comfortable when it comes to throughput accounting. So today we'll be covering throughput accounting first, and then we'll move towards activity-based costing, and then the new syllabus areas is what I will be focusing then. Okay, and then the Q&A session at the end. So there have been some certain changes in your performance management. Not very much, to be honest. There are some additions actually that you have to take care. So I will be giving you the idea of all those additions in the today's session. This is my WhatsApp number. Now, those who are not part of my WhatsApp group yet, so this is my WhatsApp number for all of you. So please, you can send me a quick WhatsApp message at this number, so that I will add you in the WhatsApp group, and obviously that group will be a useful one. I will give my support till the end, so make sure you are part of this group. You can send me a quick WhatsApp here. Breaks as per the usual at 8 and in 9, 5 minutes. So here we go with throughput accounting first. Now, theory of constraint is a very important word. So what is theory of constraint? According to this concept, it says that every organization is a one that is restricted by a limiting factor. So in every organization, there is at least one limiting factor that doesn't allow organization to I will teach the new topics today. This is what I mentioned. If you were listening me carefully, I did mention that once I'm done with this, then I will. Okay. Now, for theory of constraint, as I mentioned, that theory of constraint is basically a concept which says that every organization has one limiting factor that doesn't allow organization to maximize its profits. Okay, so there is at least one limiting factor in every organization. Now, there are two solutions to deal with theory of constraint. One is the long run solution. And what's the long run solution? Long run solution says that eliminate the limiting factor. That is, if now what is elimination? For example, if there is a machine that is a limiting factor, and you have a shortage of machines, so buy new machine. So buying new machine will eliminate the limiting factor. Okay, buying new machine will eliminate the limiting factor. Just keep this in your mind, right? So buying new machine will eliminate the limiting factor. For example, if you have a labor shortage, so hire new labor. Hiring new labor will again eliminate the limiting factor. Okay, so this is long run solution, eliminate the limiting factor. What is short run solution? You can't eliminate limiting factor if there is a shortage of machine hours, if there is a shortage of labor hours. So deal with that. Deal with that, and you have to deal with those by using throughput accounting. So it's the throughput accounting that you will use to basically deal with the limiting factor. Okay. So what is throughput? Throughput is based on three important concepts. The first is the throughput formula, which is sales minus all material costs, where material is the only variable cost. Now, in throughput accounting, because throughput takes a very, very, very short-term approach, so throughput says that material is the only limiting factor. Okay, material is the only limiting factor. Sorry, I beg your pardon. It says that material is the only variable cost, right? So according to throughput accounting, material is the only variable cost. Then it says, what about direct labor and what about your variable overheads? So it says that these two are basically part of your operating expenses. Okay, and operating expenses are fixed in nature. So these two are actually assumed to be your fixed cost. Okay, these two are assumed to be your fixed cost, right? So it includes direct labor. It assumes direct labor to be a fixed cost. It assumes variable production overheads to be a fixed cost, and it assumes fixed production overheads to be a fixed cost. So yes, this is operating expenses or production cost. The third concept is, it says that inventory, if you want to keep inventory, uh, first it says that don't keep inventory, but if there is a limiting factor, so it says that at least to support the bottleneck, you can keep low inventory. To support the bottleneck, you can keep inventory so that if there is some problem and you haven't received, for example, if you don't have the if there is a shortage of for example material and something like that, for example, so normally we do keep the inventory in hand so that our production doesn't stop. So it says that you should have some semi-finished form of products available. You should have some inventory before the bottleneck, prior to the bottleneck, so that in case of some stoppage in the operations before the bottleneck, the inventory will ensure that things will move on. Okay, so it doesn't encourage too much in keeping inventory because it considers inventory to be a non-value-adding product. Okay, we deduct all material cost, right? Now, coming towards the calculation, so the most important calculation that is tested a lot is throughput accounting ratio. This is the most tested calculation of your exam, throughput accounting ratio. So this is throughput accounting ratio, where you are required to work out the throughput accounting ratio, and the formula of that is throughput per hour of limiting factor divided by operating expenses per hour of limiting factor. Thus, this numerator is what you will work out through a formula, which is throughput per unit divided by limiting factor hours per unit. Okay. And this denominator is something that you will work out through a formula known as total operating expenses divided by total limiting factor hours, right? So, yes, this is the formula. I'm sure you all know the formula now. So that this is how we work out. But let's see how to do it through a question. But right now, another thing I need to tell you here, when your TPAR, so throughput accounting ratio is a performance measure. Okay, it's a performance measure. So when your answer is more than one, okay, when your answer is more than one, okay, when your answer is more than one, okay, so it means that you should produce the product, you should make the product, okay. And when your answer is less than one, so this means that you should not produce the product because it is not covering the operating cost per hour, right? Now, a quick recap I'm giving you here. If you want to improve your TPAR, if your TPR is less than 1 and you want to improve it, so there are certain ways. And what are the ways? Let's see. First of all, decrease the material cost per unit. So if you decrease the material cost per unit, so it improves your what you say throughput, and like this your TPR will increase. Secondly, it says that reduce the operating expenses which are fixed in nature. These we are talking about. So reduce these operating expenses, and if you reduce the operating expenses, this means your operating expense per hour goes down, and like this, your TPR will increase. Third is reduce or decrease the time to make each unit. Okay, decrease the time to make each unit. So this is one more way. If you reduce the per unit time of producing a product, so if you reduce this per unit time, I'm talking about this one here, so this helps to improve TPAR because your throughput per hour will increase and TPR will increase. Okay, last, increase the selling price per unit, and this is the selling price. So if you increase your selling price, your throughput per unit will increase, and like this TPR increases. So you've seen what I've done here, that I basically highlighted or have made a circle on 4 different words, and this will help me to remember this very easily by a very simple mnemonic, and that is MOST. Okay, M stands for material cost, O stands for operating expense, S stands for selling price, and T stands for time to make each unit. So most is basically a shortcut. Most is basically a mnemonic through which you can improve your throughput accounting ratio. Right? So I hope you like the mnemonic, guys. Yes or no? You have seen that from day one, I am giving you good amount of mnemonics, and this helps you to remember the theory, right? Right. Now, after this, I'm moving towards a past paper question, and let's see what we need to do. But before I move, I need to tell you $1 million point, in fact, $1 million points for throughput accounting ratio questions, and this is very important. So let's see what are the $1 million points. So see, the first is identify limiting factor. It's very important in any question of throughput accounting that you first try to figure out which machine or which labor is the limiting factor. And let me tell you one thing that's very much obvious. I would say that, for example, if it is a manufacturing business, so there are many chances that in a manufacturing business, machine will be the limiting factor. Okay, machine will be the limiting factor in a manufacturing business. But if it's a service business, there are very high chances that labor will be the limiting factor. Okay, so in manufacturing, machine, and in service, labor will be the limiting factor. These are something very much frequently tested in the paper, right? So identify the limiting factor. You will be really lucky if it is given to you. It will be very clearly mentioned that this is the limiting factor. Otherwise, you need to find the limiting factor. Okay, otherwise you need to find the limiting factor, and there are different ways to find out limiting factor. So we will learn one of the ways through which we will find out the limiting factor today. Second, identify limiting factor. Now, once you've identified the limiting factor, once you know which machine or labor is a limiting factor for that particular machine or labor, you have to find the total hours and hours per unit. So for that particular machine or labor, you will find total hours or hours per unit. Okay. Then you have identified the selling price and the question of different products or services. There could be a service business question as well. My friends, you people really struggle when it comes to a service organization. So I want to keep this in your mind that, okay, be ready for service organization questions, right? So identify selling price and material cost per unit, right? Uh, and remember, these are the $1 million tips, $1 million points that you have to keep in your mind when you are solving any question of throughput accounting, because if you are able to keep this in your mind and while reading the question, if you do find out these things, it will be really, really beneficial for you. Okay. So let's now move towards a past paper question, and let's see what we need to do here. A very famous question. Many of you, once will look at the question name, you will be happy that I am solving this question today in front of you people, because so many requests I always receive in relation to this question. They say, please do solve sweet treats bakery question, right? What do you think? Yes or no? Right. So that's why I am using this question today in our class to make sure your concepts gets better. And yeah, to be honest, one needs to agree that this basically was a different sort of a question that came in your examination, and this question basically required you to do some different work. So that's why let's see how to handle this question. So yeah, you are lucky, Shahid, that you did solve today and you could not, and I'm solving the same question in front of you, right? Okay. Let's take few questions here. Okay, let me repeat the inventory part. I said that throughput accounting says that inventory is a non-value adding item, so you should not keep inventory, okay? Because the more inventory you hold up, the more your cost will be built in the inventory. So the focus is on selling the inventory rather than keeping the inventory. But it says that, yes, if there is a bottleneck situation, so just to support the limiting factor, for example, machine 2 is a limiting factor. So before machine 2, you keep inventory so that if there is a stoppage in the process, like for example machine 1 is not working, so at least you should have machine 2 working, because you have some inventory before machine 2. Okay, Omar? Okay. Listen, if fixed cost is given, variable cost is given, and direct labor is given, all three will be part of operating expense. Now, if fixed cost is given, so yes, you will add that into operating expense. Okay. This is the past paper, my friend Abdul Kadri. This is the past paper, what I'm doing here. T in most is time to make each unit. If you reduce the per unit time, so like this, you can improve the throughput per hour, and like this, you can improve TPAR. Okay, Azan? What you want me to answer? Please, can you repeat your question? Okay. This will be tested in section A and B, not in C. Okay. Now let's start. Sweet Street Bakery makes three types of cakes: brownies, muffins, and cupcakes. Okay, right. So you can see here, the information is very much important, okay? Okay. Uh, batch size is given to you for brownies, muffin, and cupcakes, right? Selling price is given to you for all three. Material cost, labor cost, overhead per unit. Minimum daily demand, that's a new stuff. And maximum daily demand is given to you, right? The minimum daily demand is required for long-term contracts with a local cafe and must be met. Must be met means that you have to meet minimum daily demand. The cakes are made in batches using 3 sequential process. Now, one more thing I need to tell you, in every throughput accounting question, understand the sequence. Understand the sequence. Very important. In every throughput accounting question, understand the sequence. What is the sequence? How the service is given or how the products are manufactured. There is a process. So understand the process. Understand the process. Now, what it means? It means that, for example, material will go to machine 1, then goes to machine 2, then goes to machine 3, and then becomes a final product. So always, always, always try to find out the process. Try to find out the process. It's very important to keep in your mind that what is the process. Okay. So if it's a service, then two. For example, you went to a hair salon. So first, a person comes to you and will wash your hair. Then you go to the person who cuts your hair, and then you go to a person who dries your hair. You remember a question Glamco tested in the examination. Maybe in hospital, first you go to a local, not local, some trainee doctor, okay, who just checks your blood pressures and all, and then you go to the main doctor, and then you go to the assistant who gives you the medicine process, right? Now, just listen to my words, because what I'm saying is very useful. I know this is very useful. So throughput accounting question always, always will include a process. That is my guarantee to all of you. You pick any question, there will be a process, whether it's a manufacturing one or a service one. And in that process, now I just mentioned here the wash, cut, and dry. Now, in this process, one will be the limiting factor. That could be this one, or that could be this one, or that could be this one. In this one, the second example of hospital, nurse, main doctor, assistant. Now, in this one, there will be one limiting factor. It could be nurse, it could be doctor, it could be assistant. This is service industry example. Coming back to the manufacturing, maybe machine 1 would be limiting factor, machine 2 or machine 3. And you understood by giving this explanation, I made in clear this indirectly, that this manufacturing is machine based and service is people based, labor based. Nurse, doctor, assistant, person washing the hair, cutting the hair, drying the hair. Understanding my point, everyone? Say yes or no. So these are the key points of throughput accounting which are missing in lots of students. Okay, so mark my word, note it down somewhere, that in every throughput accounting question, 3 and 4 things you need to identify, and the fourth is understand the process through which the product moves on or the service is given. And if you understood that process, machine 1, then 2, then 3, then becomes the final product. So in that process, one one will be the most limiting factor. One will be the most limiting factor. So let's go back to the past paper question and see in this case what it is written here. See, it says there is a process, and what's the process? First weighing is done, then mixing is done, and then baking is done. Weighing, mixing, baking. See, this is the process, right? So now weighing could be a limiting factor, mixing could be a limiting factor, and baking could be a limiting. So this is the process. If you want to make a cake, so first you go for weighing, then you go for mixing, and then you go for baking. Okay, done. Right. The products must be produced in batch sizes, but are, now this is very important, but are sold as individual units. The production is done in batch sizes. Okay. Each batch of cake requires the following amount of time for each process. Now, do you remember the $1,000,000 points? Find the process. So weighing, mixing, and baking. Second was identify the limiting factor. Right now, it's not clear what is the limiting factor. Okay. Third, once you found out the limiting factor, that I don't know exactly now. Once you found the limiting factor, then you have to find out the total hours for that and the hours per unit. So still I don't know the limiting factor. But I know one thing, that I have been given here the time each batch of cake requires. So weighing 15 minutes for brownies, muffins 15 minutes, cupcake 20 minutes, and like this for the other two. Then it says that the baking stage of the process is done in 3 ovens, which can be used for 8 hours a day. Now, this is for the baking one, okay? 8 hours a day. Things like these are very important in examination, that you should highlight these. Total of 1440 available minutes. Oven have a capacity of 1 batch per bake, regardless of product type. Sweet Street Bakery uses throughput accounting and considers all costs other than material to be factory cost. That means it's a fixed cost. Got it? On Monday, today's Friday, on Monday, in addition to the baking ovens, Sweet Street Bakery has the following process resources available. Okay. Now, it says that in addition to the baking ovens, these are the two processes, weighing and mixing, right? Which of the three process, if any, is the bottleneck? Now, you know the time for baking is 1440 hours. Here it is, right? And the weighing time is 240 and mixing is 180. So out of the three, you need to find out the limiting factor, which is a bottleneck activity. Bottleneck is limiting factor. The other name is limiting factor. So you have to find out which is the limiting factor out of weighing, mixing, and baking. Okay. So for that, obviously, yeah. Okay. Now, let's begin with the workings. The first question, part A, and the question is, yeah, the question is, Okay. Which is a bottleneck activity? This means, according to my $1,000,000 points, limiting factor is not given and you have to find it. Okay. So, how to find the limiting factor in this particular situation? Now, there are different ways. One way is to find out by looking at the slowest activity, the slowest process, the one that takes more time per unit is the slowest process. Okay. Right now, the method that I will be using here to find out the limiting factor is a one in which I will be basically calculating two things. I'll work out the time available and required. So let's see, I need to produce brownies, muffins, cupcakes. Okay. And through this, I will get the required time. Process is what? First weighing, mixing, baking. Okay. So for this, what things we need to keep in your mind? First of all, it's very simple. You need to consider one thing which people do ignore when they are solving this question is the batch size. They ignore the batch size and they ignore the maximum daily demand as well. Now, because I need to work out the maximum time, so I need to consider the maximum daily demand, which means, can you tell me if 140 units is what I need to make for which product? Brownies. 140 units I need to make for brownies, and one batch requires 40. So how many batches? How many batches we need to make? Now the question is, why not minimum? Why not minimum and maximum? Because you have to make sure that the hours that you have been given should cover your maximum demand, because the maximum you cover, you get more profits, right? That's why maximum. So uh, in this case, what you need to keep in your mind is what you need to keep in your mind is that how to work out this. Now, what I'll do is I'll work out the batches that I need to make. So for brownies, as I mentioned, 140 divide by 40. So what is the answer? 3.5 batches, right? Okay. Now the second one, 90 maximum daily demand divided by 30 batch size. So what is the answer? 90 divided by 30 means 3. Okay. Understood? Yes or no? Right? Now then next what you have is 100 divided by 20. How much, guys? Are you all with me? 5. Right? 5. Okay. Now this is what we have worked out here is the number of batches. Now here for the first one, brownies. What do you think? Is it possible to make 3.5 batches? No, because the question has stated that you have to produce in their batch size. As you can see here, I have just highlighted here. So can you make 3.5? No. So how much you should make to overcome or to fulfill the entire demand? 4. 3, no 3, 4. For maximum 4. So I'll make this 4 here. Okay. Done? Now, for brownies, 4 batches I need to make. And in all the processes, it's important 4. For muffins, 3. And for cupcakes, 5. Okay? Now let's multiply these with the minutes they will take to produce one batch. Okay? So it is very clearly mentioned here. 15 minutes for brownies, 20 minutes for mixing brownies, and baking 120 minutes. Getting the point, everyone? So going back here, 15, 20, 120. The answer is, come on, can you tell me fast? 60 minutes, 80 minutes. Let's see who will tell first. And 480 minutes. Perfect. No issues at all. Now for muffins. Okay. For muffins, 15, 16, and 110. 15, 16, 110. So 45 minutes, 48 minutes, 330 minutes. Okay? Then 20, 12, 120 for cupcakes. 20, 12, 120. 100 minutes, 60 minutes, okay? And last is 600 minutes. Getting my point, everyone? So let's work out the total. Let's add these together to see what is the total. For each. So the total answer that I'm getting here in this case is, for the first one, can you tell me what is the total? 60 plus 45 plus 100. So you require 205. Oh, that's too big. 205. Okay. Second, 80 plus 48 plus 60. That's 188 minutes. Third, 480 plus 330 plus 600. 1410. 1410. Right? Now, once you have worked out the required, it's time to work out the available now. Available. Let's see the availability of weighing first in the question. 240 minutes. Availability of mixing. 180 minutes. Availability of baking. 1440, right? Here it was given 1440. Okay. Now, which one of you think has spare capacity, or which one of you think doesn't have spare capacity? So here, if I highlight in front of you, so you need 205, you have 240. Sufficient you have. You need 1410, you have 1440. Sufficient you have. So machine M is the limiting factor, because you need 188 and you have 180. So this is one way to find out limiting factor by comparing hours required with hours available. You compare hours required with hours available. This is one method to find out the limiting factor, is to compare hours required with hours available. And this is how you find out the limiting factor. So if you see here, two are the machines where you don't have shortage, you have a surplus capacity. And two are the one where one is where you saw that there is definitely the shortage, and that's the limiting factor. So the answer is mixing is the limiting factor. Say yes or no. Everyone, is this clear? Understood? Got it? Yes, please share your doubts. 3.5 batches. Come on. The questions mention that you make you make in batches. You make in batches. So how can you have 3.5 batches? Either you will make 3 batches or you will make 4 batches. Okay, so you will take 4 to complete the maximum demand. Beatrice, yeah, agreed. This question overall is a very lengthy one considering the marks. If it is 3.4, if it is 3.5, it is 3.9. In all cases, 4 batches. It's a common sense thing, Saad. Even if 3.1, then also 4 batches. Because to complete the demand, you must produce 3.1 batches. Okay? Every section of PM is difficult or every section is easy. Depends on the question where difficult comes in section B, A or C. Yeah, Saad, this has nothing to do with rounding off. This 3.5 is not rounding off. It's a common sense thing that you have to make 4 to complete the demand, right? Because the production needs to be done in complete batches. Yeah, Saad, you're right. Okay, done. Second, thank you very much, Fazil, for your nice comments. Though I'm not a king, but thank you. Throughput can never come in 20 marks in section C. Section B, 10 marks, or section A. Now, should we move? The same scenario, question has changed. Monday, it was mixing. Let's see what it says. Wednesday, the mixing process is identified as the bottleneck process. Okay, they have mentioned themselves on Wednesday, mixing is the limiting factor. On this day, only 120 minutes in the mixing are available. The minutes are also mentioned here, are available. Okay, assuming that Sweet Street Bakery wants to maximize profits, what is the optimal production plan for Wednesday? Okay, right. So optimal production plan. Now, what it means? Now, let me tell you one thing. Your questions of throughput accounting can come to work out throughput accounting ratio, or it could be a question of multi-product decision making. It could be of multi-product decision making as well. If it is of multi-product decision making, so what you can do is you can work out throughput per unit, because you have to decide which product to make first. Then you can work out throughput per limiting factor hour. Third, you will rank the products. Okay. This ranking you will do on the basis of throughput per limiting factor hour, or you can even do ranking on the basis of TPAR. And fourth is optimum production plan is what you can devise. Optimum production plan. Okay. So I hope this is clear to all of you. Now, the question that we are solving right now, I just want you people to note these 4 points quickly in a minute or so. Okay. So now I hope you have copied this. Now listen what the question is asking for. Question is asking to find out optimum production plan for Wednesday. So by this, it is very much clear, my friends. It's very much clear, my friends, that this is two questions can come for throughput. Only two types of question can come. One, either for the ratio or the multi-product. Okay. So that's type 2, where you have to prepare an optimum production plan. Done. Now, let's start with this one. We need to prepare optimum production plan, and this is the most toughest question, I would say. This is the most toughest question. So as I gave you the instructions to first work out throughput per unit. So let's begin. We have brownie, muffins, cupcakes. Now this is the most toughest one. First, I need to work out throughput per unit, as I just mentioned earlier in the slides as well. So how to work out throughput per unit? Okay. Now in this case, you have to keep in your mind that this question is basically a one where you are given with batches. You have a batch size given here. Okay. So you can just see here that batch size is 40, 30, and 20. And you need to work out the throughput in this case. Now, if you need to work out throughput in this case, so because this is given in batches, so you cannot do working of throughput per unit. You have to convert this into batches. So you need to work out throughput per batch, not unit here, per batch. That's one mistake students do. The information that you have here, this one, is unit-based information. So you need to convert this into a batch. Can you do this? Yes, you can. Why not? Let me show you one working here. Oh, let's open a calculator. And hello, can you come here, please? Yes, great. 1.5 minus 0.25 minus 0.4. 0.85 is, sorry, I beg your pardon, 1.5 minus 0.25. Throughput is sales minus material cost. So 1.25 is the throughput per unit. You multiply this with, in one batch, how many units do you have? 40. 40. Multiply this with 40. You get answer of 50. Answer of 50. So yes, my friends, this is what you people have to keep in your mind. Yes, I will be covering new topics today. You need to wait, please. I will cover new topics. Don't worry. At the end today, once I'm done with the questions, I will then come to the new topics. Okay. I'll give complete preference to new topics. If I'm short of time, so I'll cut down a topic of ABC and will come first to that. Don't worry. Chill. Rizwan Mani is with you. Don't worry. Okay. Now, so what I was saying here, you need to work out the throughput, not per unit, but normally it's per unit, but you need to work out this per batch. So that's why I'll change this to per batch. And the working would be 1.25 throughput into 40 units means 50 is the throughput per batch. How can you multiply with number of batches? In one batch, you make 40 units, right? One unit throughput is 1.25. Multiplied by 40 units throughput is 50, which is a one batch. Because in one batch, you manufacture 40 units. It's the batch size, right? And secondly, okay, that's great. Now, second one, 1.4 minus 0.15 minus 0.45. Can you tell me throughput per unit of muffins, please? Nobody is helping me here. Why? 0.8. Okay. Multiply by 30. Sorry, 1.4 minus 0.15 into 30 is 37.5, right? So 1.25 into 30 is 37.5. Can you tell me the third one, please, anyone? 35. 35. Great. What is the throughput per unit? It's 1.75 into 20. Okay? Done? Throughput per batch. First step. Look here. This was the first step. Now, throughput per limiting factor. Throughput per limiting factor. Per limiting factor. Limiting factor is what? Limiting factor in this case is mixing. So, mixing minutes. I need mixing minutes here. Let's come here. Mixing is the limiting factor. All eyes on mixing. Remember, whatever is the limiting factor, complete focus on that only. 20, 16, 12. 20, 16, 12. These are mixing minute per batch. Things should be like with like, okay? Per batch. Now, 50 divided by 20, 2.5 is the throughput per minute. 37.5 divided by 16 is 2.34 throughput per minute. 35 divided by 12 is 2.91. Okay? Now, step 3 says ranking. Ranking. The one that gives you highest throughput per minute. The one that gives you highest throughput per minute. You will produce that first, which is giving you the highest throughput per minute. C. Produce C first. Now on second number, who is giving you highest throughput per minute is B, and then C. Okay? Agreed, everyone? Happy? Umar, no, it's not the case. Whenever it's throughput, it's very clearly mentioned. What I need to tell again? What I need to tell again? Throughput per unit I've worked out. I will divide this with the minutes per batch because this is throughput per batch. This is minutes per batch. Remember, whatever is limiting factor, everything will be based on that limiting factor only. From where you got 20, 16 and 12? No man, we got 20, 16 and 12 from USA. Here it is, man. It's giving the question. Sometimes things are given in the question and we are searching where is that, from where it came. Man, it's in the question. Okay? Okay. Done. Now ranking done. Then comes the next one. And what is the next one? The next one is optimum production plan. The most tricky one is optimum production plan. Okay. So what we need to do? This is the most tricky part here. Now, if I ask you as a bakery, would you want to give preference to your minimum demands or not? Would you want to give preference to your minimum demands or not? Come on, tell me. Yes or no? Minimum demands or not? Yes? You're not getting, my friends. It must be met. It must be met. So first you have to make sure that you fulfill your minimum demands. No, you are not getting the point. It's a contract. Will you breach a contract? That's the confusing part. I know optimum production plan will give you the most best plan to earn your throughput maximum. But can you breach the contract? You cannot. So first fulfill the minimum demands, which means you have no choice. You have no choice. Okay. So what you need to do is that first, before starting the optimum production plan, you have to first figure out the minimum things that you must cover. So for brownies, for muffins, for brownies, for muffins, and for cupcakes, first you need to fulfill the minimum demand. You don't have any choice, my friends, which means if I go quickly back to the question, I will just highlight the minimum stuff. 30 for the first one, 20, 10 for the second one, and the third one. This means that, can you tell me the minimum one? Okay, 30 is the minimum. So batch size is 40. You can't ignore the batch size. So 30 divided by 40. 30 divided by 40, the answer is how much? 0.75. Now, are you allowed to make 0.75 batches? 30 divided by 40 is 0.75. Are you allowed to make 0.75 batches? No. So what option do you have? At minimum, what you do make? One batch. So, one batch. Fixed. Second, 20 divided by 30. 20 divided by 30. No, again. Minimum, one batch. Third, 10 divided by 20. Can you make a half batch? No, one batch. Minimum batches to produce, you don't have any options. So just set aside these first. Just set aside these first. Now, how many hours do you have? Hours available to you are mentioned in the question. that is 120 minutes. So from these 120 minutes, you don't have any option. You must complete these 111 batches. Let's work out the time. One batch of brownies will be made in 20 minutes. 20 minutes gone. One batch of muffins requires 16 minutes. 16 minutes gone. One batch of cupcakes requires 12 minutes. 12 minutes gone. Entire focus should be on mixing. Don't look at other things. Once you found out the limiting factor, your complete focus should be on limiting factor only. So are you left with something? Yes, you are left with something. This is the minimum stuff that you have to make sure. You can't do anything for that. So it's what? It's 12, right? Plus 20 plus 16. 48 minutes is what you have to give to this. Now, how many you are left with? 72 minutes. Now, for this 72, I personally believe for this 72, your ranking will work. Now, your ranking will work on these 72 minutes. Because as far as the minimum contract were concerned, you were locked into that. You don't had any option. Yeah, it's a tricky question. That's why it's a famous question of exam. Because what students do wrong is that they close their eyes when it comes to minimum requirement contracts. You can't do this. You really can't do this. Now the ranking will play a major part. So according to ranking, now cupcakes will be given the priority first. So cupcakes will be given the priority first. Now you will first produce cupcakes. Yeah, obviously. Honey, if there is a minimum requirement, that's only. Now, how many cupcakes you had to produce? I did work out this earlier, right? Five. To fulfill the complete demand, 5 cupcakes were required to be produced. Remember, out of those 5, one you already have. So you're left with remaining 4. Now, do you have hours for that? Yes, you do have. How many minutes you need for one cupcake batch? That's 12. So 4 into 12, 48 minutes gone. Wow, 48 minutes gone. Are you left with something else? Yes, you are. We are left with 24 minutes. Which is the second one? According to ranking, Mr. Brownie. It's your turn, Mr. Brownie. Mr. Brownie is second in terms of ranking. So what is the demand of brownies maximum? We are required to make 4 brownies batches. 4 brownie batches. Now, 1 is the minimum, one that has been fixed. So 3 brownie batches you still can make, but you have to keep in your mind that you just have 24 minutes. And 1 brownie takes 20 minutes of mixing. 20 minutes of mixing. Oh man. So this means I can just make 1 batch of brownie further. After the minimum, I can make just 1 batch of brownie. Yes or no? Yes. True. So for brownie, 1 more batch. into 20 minutes, 20 minutes. So you'll be left with 4 minutes, unused 4 minutes. You can't do anything for these 4 minutes. Anyways, is the plan done now? Yes, the plan is done. Let's consolidate all. Let's consolidate these all together to finalize what we are doing. So brownie, one batch, make 2 batches of brownie, 2 batches. Muffins, just 1 batch. Muffins, we don't like muffins much. Do you like muffins? And cupcakes is the most highest one batch and 4 makes 5 batches of cupcakes. Is this the answer? Yes, this is the answer. But sir, we don't, brownies don't get it. What you don't get it? It's so simple. I'm telling you that you are left with 24 minutes. Now, one batch of brownie takes 20 minutes. So you can just make one more batch of brownie. One more batch of brownie, I'm saying. Okay? Getting the point. Right? So what's the final decision? Final decision is what? 2 batches of brownie, 1 of muffin, 5 of cupcakes. Now, what's the batch size? 40, 30 and 20. Multiplied by 40, 80 brownies. Multiplied by 30, 30 muffins. Multiplied by 20, 100 cupcakes. Because the final answer had to be given in units. What a question, to be honest. Examiner required you to do entire working in terms of batches, and then at last asking the answer in units. Wow. You are required to do entire working in batches and final answer in units. Complete confusion. And to be honest, now I'll be honest here. If I follow the examination technique, I think this question should be a one I should solve at last, or I should leave it. Because for 2 marks, if I'm spending 10 minutes, don't you think these 10 minutes I can spend on 5 easy OTs and gain 10 marks? If in the same time I am able to solve 3 or 4 easy OTs, so I can secure 6 to 8 marks. That's the planning. That's the examination technique. You can't bring 100. You don't want to bring 100. You need, first of all, 50 to pass and then the high marks. So planning is important. Examination technique is important. If I'm wasting too much time on a question that worth just 2 marks, so leave it and go for other requirement that gives you more marks in the same time. That's the trick. And how will you learn it? It's the mocks that will teach you. It's the practice that will teach you. Okay? Now, ask what you want to ask. I'll answer your questions here. Okay. So, brownie, I'll tell you, one brownie is a one that you will make when it comes to minimum requirement. Okay. And the second brownie is that you preferred through the ranking because it had highest contribution per hour compared to muffins. So that's why 2 brownies, 2 batches of brownies. Okay. Azan, it's a common sense, to be honest. It's nothing to guess, please. This is the skill you need to develop for this paper, because if something is per unit and something is per batch, so you have to bring that 2 batches. The only point I want to make is if your minutes are in batches, so your contribution or throughput should be in batches. The main point is either you bring everything to per unit or you bring everything to per batch. For mock, I have mentioned what's the plan, and I'll further mention today at the end of today's session the WhatsApp group. No other question is like this up till now. We are not left with 12 minutes. We are left with 4 minutes. 4 minutes. We had 24 minutes. 20 gone for the brownie. So you are left with just 4 minutes. From where you are bringing this 12 minutes? Mohammad Saad Ali Khan. Okay. Any other question? Please ask me. Understood? Okay. That's great. Yeah, in that case, Saad, it's okay. In first question, I worked out 240. Now where is 240? Oh man, this is available in the question. You're not getting the point. See, this is given here in the question. See, right? Yeah, Dure Neabe Fatma. Yes, 4 minutes are waste. We can't do anything for that, right? Okay, perfect. Done, guys. Happy? Should we move now? Let's move on. Sweet Street Bakery has done a detailed review of its products, cost and processes. Which of the two following statements will improve throughput accounting ratio? I did mention how to improve the throughput accounting ratio. For that, I mentioned you a mnemonic, and the mnemonic was MOST, most. Remember? Let's see. The cafe customer wants to negotiate a loyalty discount. Now, if your customer takes discount from you, so if you give them the discount, you are reducing your selling price, and if your price goes down, your throughput accounting ratio, TPR, will go down. Not the right option. Not the right option. Second, a bulk discount on flour and sugar is available from the supplier. Yes. If you are able to get discount on your materials and your material cost goes down, which means your throughput per unit goes up, which means your throughput accounting ratio goes up. Right. Then there is additional demand for the cupcakes in the market. Not at all. Why? Because we are talking about throughput accounting ratio, which has nothing to do with the demand. Okay? The last, the rent of the premises has been reduced for the next year. Yes, because rent is basically a fixed cost and rent is part of operating expenses. So in most, remember, M for material, O for operating cost. If operating cost goes down, then yes, it's true. If operating cost goes down, so it's true that your operating cost goes down means your operating cost per hour goes down and your throughput per hour, throughput accounting ratio increases. Yeah. Now I'm coming towards a planning here. Listen, in section B, you have 18 minutes to solve. But remember, it's the adjustment that you have to do. Now, this question is an easy one. So spend less time on this and more time on that one. Here's how it compensates. 1 OT of 2 marks means 3.6 minutes you should have to solve. So this is a question that will take 10 seconds. So you are able to save 3.5 minutes on this question, which you can utilize on that question, which was a lengthy one. This is time management that you have to learn. Okay, this is the time management. Demand, I'm saying that demand has nothing to do with the ratio. What's the ratio? Ratio is throughput per hour, operating expense per hour. Has nothing to do with demand. Yeah, if you produce more, your total throughput increases. But the ratio which compares the throughput per hour with throughput per cost, which compares throughput per hour with cost per hour has nothing to do with demand. Okay? So my friends, understanding the technique, say yes or no. It's the time management. Some questions will take less time, the others will take more time. And like this, adjustment needs to be done. And this adjustment will not be done in the examination day. You have to practice this before, today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and till the exam and the mock. And like this, you'll be ready for the paper. I hope this is clear. I hope you all are happy. I'm giving you a small task, a challenging task to solve this question. With the same, I'm giving you a break as well. You have an 8-minute break here in which 4 minutes to solve this and 4 minutes for your own party. Okay, great. So let's take a break of 8 minutes. With 4 minutes you have to solve this question and 4 minutes break. Your break time starts now. Welcome back. So have you found out the answers? Yes. So please share your answers in the chat box. Share your answers in the chat box. Okay. Now let's read. Today's Friday. Wow. Friday, due to a local food festival at the weekend, Sweet Street Bakery is considering increasing its production of the cupcakes. These cupcakes can be sold at the festival at an existing selling price. Okay. The company has unlimited capacity for weighing and mixing on Friday. Okay. So weighing and mixing unlimited capacity. But its existing 3 ovens are already fully utilized. Okay, ovens 3 utilized, right? Therefore, in order to supply cupcakes to the festival, Sweet Street Bakery will need to hire another identical oven at the cost of 45 per day. How much will profit increase by if company hires the new oven and produce as many cupcakes as possible? Okay, now you need to understand here how much the profit will increase by, which means you don't have to work out the total profitability, but you just have to work out the profitability that will increase because of one extra oven. Because of one extra oven, you have to see that how many batches will further be produced and the profits further will increase, because the question has stated how much will profit increase by. So now if we go for one more oven, and we know that each oven is available, each is available for 8 hours a day. 8 hours a day, which means you have 1440 minutes available each day. 1440 available each day. Total, sorry, multiplied by the 3 ovens. Yeah. So you have how many available each day minutes? So at 8 hours into 60 means 460 minutes you have each day for each oven. Now it's simple. If one oven is added which is available for 8 hours a day into 60 minutes means 480 minutes you have further additional extra because of the new oven, which means you can work out that how many further cupcakes you can make. So for baking, if you see here, 120 minutes baking takes to produce one batch of the cupcake, which means if I divide this with 120 minutes, so I am able to produce 4 batches further of cupcakes. Agreed? 120 minutes per batch, so 4 batches, okay? And if I multiply this with the throughput per batch of cupcake that I've already worked out earlier, so the throughput per batch of cupcake was 35. So if I multiply this with 35, this means that the total throughput that I will earn on these 4 batches will be 140 contribution. Additional you have to focus on. Less the hiring cost of one extra oven means 45, means 95 is the profit that you will earn per day on Friday if you are able to obtain the oven. Got it? Happy? Easy? Understood? Clear? Explanation is crystal clear or not? Oh man, I'm surprised that today you are missing information that is given in the scenario. It's 45. 45 is given here. Okay, my friends, are we clear about this one? Good to move. Say yes or no. No labor cost. Because labor is assumed to be fixed in nature. That's where the problem comes. Now, those who say labor cost, which means from heart they don't accept labor to be the fixed cost. From mind they say, okay, you have to accept from heart that yes, labor is a fixed cost in throughput. Additional profit, additional profit, additional profit. Yeah, not the total. Additional profit, the question said. So the additional cost 45 is an operating cost that you have to take only. 45 is the additional cost. Okay? I hope I'm answering your questions. Done. Done, guys? Happy? Yeah, I'm saying, Martin, I know the question asks for additional profit. Profit. So I did charge the 45 cost. What is 45? 45 is additional operating expense. And that is how I've worked out the profit. Okay? So now this is clear to all of you, I hope. What else? Nothing more to answer? No, we don't. We will not take labor and variable overheads because that's assumed to be fixed in nature, which means that is part of the operating expense, and fixed cost is a cost that remains constant. If you produce further units, by the rule book, fixed cost should not increase. So if it's a fixed cost, it should not increase. That's the concept. Okay, that is why we will not deduct labor and variable overheads. Yeah, right. Done. Perfect. Maru, your question is why took baking CC? Baking CC. What's baking CC? Why took baking cupcakes? Because the question asked me about cupcakes. And because the question did mention here that baking is the limiting factor. Because the question has mentioned that you need to just find out for cupcakes. That's why. Because, oh man, because baking is the limiting factor. It's saying there's unlimited capacity for weighing and mixing. Listen, there could be one limiting factor at one time. That's it. Okay? One limiting factor. That's it. So on Friday, this is the limiting factor. Right. Let's move on. The last one. In the previous week, the weighing process was the bottleneck and the resulting throughput accounting ratio for the bakery was 1.45. Weighing process was the bottleneck and throughput account ratio was 1.45. This means it's a positive one. Indicate by clicking the relevant box in the below table whether each of the following statements about TPR for the previous week are true or false. Let's see. The bakery's operating cost exceeded the total throughput contribution generated from its three products. The first statement is this one. Okay. Second, less idle time in mixing department would have improved the TPAR. Okay. Improved efficiency during weighing process would have improved the TPAR. Now, what do you think about the third one? Third one is true or false? Now, weighing is the limiting factor. So, improving the efficiency of the weighing process would improve TPAR? Yes or no? Yes. Remember most. MOST. T is what? Reduce the time to make each unit. If you reduce the time to make each unit, your TPAR would be better. Yes. Second, less idle time in mixing department would have improved TPAR? No, because mixing is not the limiting factor. If mixing is not the limiting factor, it will be of no use to improve mixing. Remember, whatever is the limiting factor, improving that only will benefit you. Done? Then what you have? Then what you have is very simple. The bakery operating cost exceeded the total contribution generated from three products is false, because the TPR is more than 1. If TPR is more than 1, which is indicative of the fact that your throughput per hour is more than the cost. If a positive TPR is there, this means your throughput is easily covering the cost. False. So the one statement is true, and that's the third statement only. I hope this is clear to all of you. This was a very good question. On your special request, I came up with this question. I hope I've made it really clear, crystal clear. Your feedbacks, guys. The first point is that when the cost is more than the throughput, your TPR will never be more than 1. Okay? Never be more than 1. If TPR is more than 1, this is indicative of the fact that your cost is covered by the throughput. Okay? Clear? Examiner says when there are difficult questions in the exam and where people didn't perform well, I might test those again. It's very much chance that those will come again. So remember that you are well ready. We are well ready for the question like this in the exam. Okay. So now what you want me to cover? The new areas or the ABC topic first? In the available time. Tell me, guys. It's the public demand. It's the public requirement I'm going to fulfill. Okay. Definitely the new areas. So let's cover new areas. And if you're left with time, then we'll go for ABC. Otherwise, I hope that's not a matter. So let's cover the new areas that have been introduced in performance management for September 21 attempt. Right. Let's begin. First of all, big data and a small addition in big data. Big data has been introduced with a small addition in big data. So I will explain you big data and the additional things as well in a very easy to way and with so many massive examples that your mind will be like this. It's a topic of P5, Advanced Performance Management. So I'll give you examples in such a way that it will become massively easy for you. Are you ready? Say yes or no. Those who are new to this session today, please send me a WhatsApp message on my number if you are still not part of my groups, so that you become part of my groups for any further help. Definitely, I'll be there till the exam day. It's not the end of the webinar. It's the end of the webinar, but it's not the end of the Rizwan Mania support. Remain active with my group. I will share the details of the grand revision. Everybody must be part of that grand revision along with the mock details. Don't worry, a 20-mark question can never come for regression right now, okay? Don't worry, it's the first attempt. Hold on. Now, let's begin with this one. Big data. I start my explanation with an example. Do you know Facebook? Sir, just tell us anyone who doesn't know Facebook. Right? Everybody knows about Facebook. Do you know? Do you have an account on Facebook? Yes, we have. Do you know there are 2 billion active users on Facebook? 2 billion active users on Facebook. Every minute, thousands of people post on Facebook. Every minute, thousands of people like the post on Facebook. Every minute, thousands of students, thousands of people upload the videos and the pictures. Where is that entire data? Who is collecting the data? It's your data? Maybe, but that data is in the data bank of Facebook. Imagine 2 billion active users' data, number, address, preferences, likes, dislikes, pictures, video, post from the global people. Just imagine the amount of data Facebook has. And that's what is big data. So easy. Happy? Another example, google.com. Google.com. Do you have a Gmail account? How many of you have Gmail accounts? Say yes or no. So we do have Gmail accounts. Okay. Your Gmail account, your Google Drive has the data that you store. Your Gmail has your emails, your contact details, your location, everything is there. And it's not just you, it's all around the world. So high amount of data Google has is known as big data, which is extremely large collections of data. Facebook is collecting the data. Google is collecting the data. It's not a useless thing. It's the core thing of modern environment, the data. people preferences, what they like, what they dislike, which helps them to analyze, reveal the patterns, trend, associations through which you can understand the human behaviors. Have you ever imagined my Facebook profile will show things of my interest which will be totally different from your interest coming on your Facebook profile? Agreed. Because Facebook is showing me what I want and what is of my interest compared to yours. Understood? So that's big data. Remember, this huge amount of data that Facebook has, that Google has, a supermarket may have, an online business may have, ACCA has so huge amount of data of global students. So a big data is a one in which you will see four things. Previously, it was just volume, variety, velocity. The addition is it's velocity and it's veracity. Veracity. So what's data veracity? So let's understand volume. Obviously, big data includes huge volume of data. I've made it so clear. Pictures, posts, videos, personal information, location. You know, Facebook through the cookies. Though I'm not talking about those cookies, the one that you eat. Through cookies, Facebook can figure out the websites you visit to check your interest and your locations. So huge volume of data is there. Facebook has, Google has, ACCA has, which includes huge variety of data as well. It includes structured data, unstructured data. A company that runs an online education business is a company who teaches different courses to global students. The company has a website. The company has its Facebook, Instagram pages, Twitter account, LinkedIn profile. People are asking questions through all the different social media platforms. So much information the company is gathering. It includes, which means social media interaction data, conversations of people about the company on the social media is unstructured data. So it includes a variety of data. Okay? Then comes velocity. What is velocity? Speed. Speed of gathering the data, capturing and analyzing the data to take decisions. Please just wait. I will cover regression time series. If you will ask questions again and again, I cannot explain, okay? This is something has been added. Do you know what is data analytics? Do you know what is data mining? I am coming to all these things. These are all the additions of the September 21. Data analytics has been added new in the course, okay? Now, velocity, the speed through which you gather, capture, and analyze the data. I'll give you a quick example of this. A customer came to your website and he was browsing the different products of garments, shirts, pants. So you are gathering the data, because your website will gather the entire data, the products that they clicked, the pages to which they went. Now, if you have a system through which you get to know that they are looking for these particular types of products, so quickly you came up with a deal, a discount deal, and you messaged them. Now they are surfing on your website for 5-7 minutes, and after 2 minutes, if you watch that, okay, they are surfing these products, and you send them a quick discount deal, you message them a deal. This means this is quick capturing of the information and taking a decision or giving them discounts so that they purchase quickly. Velocity, how quickly you gather the information, you analyze it, and you use that for your own decision making to improve the business. Just imagine the same customer is receiving the message, text message after 10 hours. Will that be effective? No. It should be on the same time, at the same time, so that they are prompt to purchase it. Velocity, how quickly you use it for decision making. Now, the new concept that has been added is veracity. What's that? It says that the data that you are gathering might not be accurate. It should be an accurate data. It should be an accurate data, which means you need to have some system to filter out the useless things and come to the main informative area. It means you need to filter out biasness, noise, abnormality from the data. And for that, you have one technique of time series. I'll connect things. You have one technique of time series that filter out the data. Even regression can do that. So, veracity means that data is not accurate and you need to filter out the abnormalities and useless things from the data and just focus on the relevant data, accurate one. So the data should be accurate. For that, you need to have some system to filter out the things, and one method is time series that will remove the abnormalities. Done? So this is done. Now, after understanding the big data, a new concept that has been added is big data analytics as well. What's big data and analytics? Veracity means that the data that you have will not be accurate data. Will not be accurate data. So you need to have some system in place, because that data might include some abnormalities, some inaccurate stuff. For example, you took a survey of people who were more than the age of 21. You need the data from people who are more than 21. But in that data, you are getting the answers from people who are less than 21. So that less than 21 is useless for you. So you will remove those, you will filter out those to come to those are more than 21. Okay? So to make data more accurate and remove the inaccuracies is veracity. Okay? Now, what is big data analytics? Very important. What is big data analytics? The process of collecting, organizing, and analyzing large data set is known as big data analytics. The best example of this is Google Analytics. Google Analytics. Now, have you heard about Google Analytics, anyone? It's a very common modern day thing. Now, I have an education website, okay? And we do look at the Google Analytics. We look that how many visitors are coming from which country to our website. This gives us the idea of the region, people, interest, papers, what are their interests, on which course page they spend, how much time shows their level of interest. So that's Google Analytics for you. It's a powerful tool. It gives you so good analysis that your mind, you say, wow. So analytics that helps you to take decisions and use that big data, because there's no use if you're not using the data well. So if you have a big data, you need analytics, and Google Analytics does that. It will give you a report region wise, paper wise, time wise, attempt wise. You name it and you get it. Okay? And this involves a usage of a software known as data mining softwares. This is the hidden patterns you get to know by data mining softwares. Again, data mining basically uses the entire data. A quick example. There was a supermarket manager. One fine morning, there were hundreds of supermarkets, okay? So I'm talking about one supermarket. The manager used data mining software, and what data mining did was, data mining found out a relationship between cigarettes and cold drinks. Cigarettes and cold drinks? The software was, data mining software was used and it found out a relationship, hidden pattern of cigarettes and cold drinks. So it basically brought all the invoices in front of the manager in form of a report, and all those invoices, 95% of those invoices were the combined invoice of cigarettes and cold drinks. Surprisingly, all were after 5 p.m. So they got shocked. They said, what is happening, man? All invoices are after 5 p.m. and are the combined invoices. They did the investigation and they found out that the people who are going back to their homes, they stop at the supermarket to have a cigarette, because not everybody is allowed to smoke at home. Maybe your family, kick you. So the last cigarette of the day, you buy from the supermarket, and when you are there for a cigarette, so you may look at cold drinks and you're prompted to buy a cold drink. So that was the story. People were coming to buy cigarette and they used to buy a cold drink as well. So now the manager realized that there's a hidden relationship. So what he did, he changed the layout of that supermarket, and what he ensured was that all the cigarette bars should be alongside the cold drink fridges. So the cold drink fridge and the cigarette bars were kept together, which helped to boost up the sales of cold drinks massively and change the layout of all the supermarkets. Understood? The hidden pattern help you to take a decision to change the layout in such a way that now people will come to buy the cigarette and they will look at the cold drink, chilled, and they want to buy it. Understood? That's the use of data mining. So that's all analytics through the big data. Got it? Understood? Did you like the example? Say yes or no. These topics are coming from APM. And in APM, all this is required to, understand in that level. And that is why I'm giving you the examples here. Now, big data, risk, security of data, definitely. Maybe someone will, steal your data. Security is a concern. Hardware is needed. A server, maybe a physical server needed. Softwares are needed. Cost, these are costly. Data accuracy always remains a question mark, and that's veracity. Accuracy. Okay? And skills required to analyze it. Normally, if you don't have the skills, you cannot understand. And to be honest, initially, when I was not into this IT stuff, so I used to get surprised. What is this? What are the trends? I can't understand. With time passing, now I understand in a much better way. So skills are needed. Done? Done with the big data concept that has been added is big data analytics and the concept of veracity. Now, regression and time series. I'm very much surprised, to be honest. I am very, very much surprised, to be honest, when the examiner added the topic of time series and regression. I was not surprised why the examiner included that. I was surprised by the way people were reacting on this addition. And they were like, it's so difficult. What to do for these new, man, this is what you have covered in your management accounting paper. Yeah. And don't expect that a big question on big data, on time series will come in the coming attempt. Yeah, you must know what is that. You must know how to apply it. You must know how it will help you in forecasting. Anyways, people were really threatened about it. I don't know why, but let's start. First, I'll cover time series. And I'll give you a recap of that so that if you don't remember what you did in F2, so this webinar will be enough for you. Okay? Will be enough for you. Time series. What is that? Simple. As I mentioned, veracity. Veracity means accuracy is important, filter out the data. So time series will help you in doing this. You have a data, previous data about production cost and units. You have a data of number of salesperson and sales. So many things. So by looking at the historic data, from that historic data, you find out number one, trend. Number two, seasonal variation within the data. Trend and seasonal variation. Okay? So what is a trend? An average line of best fit, I can say. What's the variation? Variation means above or below the average. Let's have a quick idea about this. Using time series, you work out moving averages. Now, please listen, everybody. You work out moving averages. What is a moving average? This is how you find out the trends. Now, for example, this is a data given to you of monthly sales revenue, Jan till December. So it's a 12-month sales data. Now, what I'll do is I can work out 3-month moving average, or I can work out 5-month moving average as well. So let's take an example of 3 months moving average. January, February, March. 3 months. Just add the sales of 3 and divide this with 3. January, February, March. So you get an average here for February. Then what's next? Add the February, March, and April figures and divide that by 3. So you will get the average. March, January, February, March, April average will be March. It's a 3-month moving average, means that the center month will be the average one. Okay, let's look at the example. The example is very much simple in front of you. Is here. January, February, March, add all, divide by 3. This is a 3-month average that you can see falls in front of February. Okay? And like this, then February, March, April, then March, April, May, then April, May, June. And like this, you will continue with this. So first January, February, March, then February, March, April, then March, April, May, then April, May, June. Understanding the point? Add, divide by 3. So like this, you start getting the averages, and these averages is known as trend. Trend. So you can easily figure out that this trend is an average line. It's an average line. So it is making things very clear. You can see that the trend says that the sales is improving by 2 every month. By 2 every month. So look at the difference. Every 2,000 every month. So the trend gives you the idea that it is improving by 2,000 every month. That's moving average 3-month based. If it's a 5-month moving average, what you gonna do? January, February, March, April, May divided by 5. So you will get the answer for March. Then February, March, April, May, June, you get the average in April. Then March, April, May, June, July, you get average in the month of May. 5-month moving average. Getting my point? Right? Okay. Now, continue working down the data and you will get the trend here. So this is the trend column you have. This is the trend column you have. So you can see another column here that's of seasonal variation now. What's that? The trend, it's a trend. On an average, it's increasing. Okay? Yeah, it's not, yeah, it's 3-month average. Yeah, 3-month average. Okay? Now, you have worked out the trend. You can see 2000 per month, the growing rate. It's see per month 2000. Okay. Now, what is seasonal variation? Something above and below the normal average is seasonal variation. Very simple. Were these the values for the trend? Yes, these were. Now the variation. In February, 145 was the sales, and according to the trend, it should be 152, which means -7 is the seasonal variation in the month of February. In March, the trend says the average should be 154, but March, where you see 186 sales, so there is an increase in the sale due to the seasonal variation because of the peak season in March, for example, and that's 32. Okay? And like this, actual minus the trend, actual minus the trend, actual minus the trend, and you are getting the seasonal variations. Okay? Now you can see this minus and plus here. So that is known as additive model to work out seasonal variation. Additive model to work out seasonal variation. Where you get variations in plus and minus, plus and minus. Agreed? Okay? And there is one more model here. I hope you all are getting what I'm saying here. Yes or no? Okay. The new topics. Okay. Now, the other method through which you can work out this moving average, this seasonal, is the multiplicative model. It's the multiplicative model. Now, what is that? Instead of plus minus in variations, you work out ratio-based variations, where you work out how much percent is below the average and how much percent is above the average, which means 145 divided with 152, which is giving you the idea that in the month of February, it's 95% of the trend, which means from trend, it's 5% less. From trend, it's 5% less. But in the month of March, it's 186, which means it's 21% above the trend. 121%, right? 21% above the trend. So more than 20% above the trend, less than 5% above the below the trend in Feb and March. In April, 131 divided by 156. This means 16% below the trend. That is 84%. So that's multiplicative model. Okay? Understood? So it's a better method to use when trend is increasing or decreasing. Is this clear to all of my friends? Now, what's the use of all these things? Now, here comes applicability, and this may be tested in your paper. The applicability of this. Using time series to forecast the future. Yeah, I'm not sure whether, because I don't teach management accounting paper. In management accounting, are you given with seasonal variations or you do workout through additive and multiplicative model? Can you give me a quick feedback here? Do you work out? Just one answer. Okay, you do work out that. So that's fine. That's fine. And personally, to be honest, I don't see that examiner will repeat those calculations that you covered in F2. That's not possible. Yeah, using this, your theoretical analysis would work. That okay, by using the time series, the company or there might be a question where they have worked out the moving averages and now you need to forecast or take a decision based on that. Okay. Now, what I was saying here, that what's the use of all this stuff now? It helps you in predicting the revenue. Now you need to work out the revenue for June and July. Okay, June and July. So how will you do? Either it's a additive model or a multiplicative model that must be given in the paper. But let's do this through, for example, additive model. For example, let's forecast for June and July. Can you do this? Yes, you can. So let's go above. Here we are. Now, the data that was given to you was 20x2. Now you have to predict 20x3. So the last trend is 70, and you see an increase in the trend by 2000 every month. So if you want to predict for June next year, so 172, okay? December, January 174, February 176, March 178, April 180, May 182, June 184. Any easier way? Yes. Just count the months. December, January, February, March, April, May. Okay? And June. 7 months ahead. 7 months ahead, right? 7 months. So 2000 every month into 7 makes 14,000. So from current 170,000, add 14,000, this makes up to 184,000. So the trend will be 184,000. Seven months ahead, December, January, Feb, March, April, May, June. Okay, what about July? 8 months ahead means 2000 into 8 makes 16,000 plus 170,000 makes 186,000. Clear? It will be, obviously. This shows okay, now you're talking about the month of June next year and the month of July next year. So look at the seasonal variation in the month of June and July. So in June, Your sales goes up by 32,000 above the trend, whereas in July it comes down by 25 below the trend. So for June, you add 32 further. And for July, you reduce 25. Okay? You reduce 25. So 184 plus 32 is 216 is a forecasted number. It's not a guarantee. 186 minus 25, 161. That's time series for you people. That's time series. Got it, my friends? Understood? Yeah, season variations are also adjusted. Is this clear to all of you? Say yes or no. What's the question? This is time series. This is not regression. I'm coming to regression. I'm coming to regression, my friend. Let me complete this first. Now, what you want to understand, just tell me, please. What you want to understand? Which point is not clear? Tell me exactly what is not clear. What if multiplicative model? So once you have worked out the trend, like you have done here, 184, right? So if it says 0.95, so you multiply this with 0.95 to work out 95%. If it says it's 1.21, so 184 multiplied by 1.21 means add 21% further. Okay? Yeah, you can expect. What's the third column? So this is the total of all these three. Divide this with 3 and you get this 152. Add these 3, divide this with 3, you get 152. Yeah. For multiplicative model, I did mention here. See, these percentages are given to you. For example, you need to work out for February, right? So December, January, February, 3 months ahead. So 2000 into 3 is 6000. So just add 6000 into the trend of 170 to make it 176,000. Right? Now for multiplicative, it says in February, it will be 95% of the trend. So multiply this with 95 to work out the figure for Feb. Okay? Yeah, trend will be constant. Done, guys? True? Happy? Understood? And if it is for March, so I would say 178 multiplied by 1.21 or 121%. It's the same thing. Okay, done? Everyone, give me the confirmation. Understood? Because it's for March. December, January, February, March, 4 months. Okay, 178. I'll tell you the topics to cover from book today. Now, this is time series. Through time series, you listen. Through time series, you find out the trend and variations that helps you further in forecasting. One more thing I need to add here. We worked out the 3 months average, which is Jan, Feb, March. Odd number it was, right? So I'll add Jan, Feb, March, divide this with 3. So I get the average here, and that is for Feb. Okay, this was the case. So you just saw above for a 3-month average, you just saw that the trend was falling in front of every month, right? The midpoint is there. January, February, March. So the midpoint is February. February, March, April. So midpoint is March. But if it's a 4-month average, so that is where a little problem can come. 4-month average. So now what we gonna do? See, month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4. Let's assume that to be month, because right now it's quarter. Okay. So let's say it's quarterly data. If I add these 4 together and divide this with 4, so I will get an average here, but this average will have no midpoint. This will be between 2 and 3, no midpoint. Like the midpoint you got for 3-month average, you will not get midpoint for 4th month average, because it's an even number. What to do? What to do? So in that case, what you do, you have to work out the midpoint then. So what's that? Simple. First, work out the average for 4 quarters. Here it is. Then work out the next average for next 4 quarters, which is starting from 2, 3, 4, and 1. 3, 2, 4, and 1. These 4. Now calculate the average for these 4. So the average for these 4, 2, 3, 4, 1 will fall here. That's 327. Okay. Now, to finalize the midpoint, add these two together. Add these two together and divide these two with 2 to find a midpoint of these two. To find a midpoint of these two, and if you just see, the midpoint of these two will fall straight in front of 3rd quarter. The midpoint of these two will fall straight in front of 3rd quarter. Now this will be considered as a trend now. So for even numbers, you need to work out the midpoint, then you get the trend. And like this, you will continue at least for 3 to 4 further ones to get the idea of the trend. So the next 4 would be what? Tell me. So what will be the next four? 3, 4, 1, and the second quarter of the next year. Yeah. So first you will work out the average of these four. That will fall here. Average. Okay. That will fall here. And then what you'll do? You will use this average and this average, and we'll divide this with 2 to get another midpoint here. Yeah. Add 1 and reduce 1. So now this will fall straight in front of 4. Right? Got it, everyone? And this is how you will get the midpoints. And this is how you will find the trend then. So for even numbers, first work out the normal average and then further work out the midpoint from the two. It's again the time series we are continuing. Yeah, still continuing with time series. Yeah. First, I told you about 3 moving averages. So for odd number moving averages, it's not difficult. For even number moving averages, like 4 quarters in a month, or sorry, in a year. So you need to work out further midpoints for that. Through, guys. Done. So now coming towards the positive and negatives, I'll share all this 5 days content and the 5 days slides with you on my Google Drive. I'll share the link of the Google Drive in the WhatsApp groups. Don't leave the group today or till the exam at least. Don't leave the group. Sayyid Batul Fatma, it's so clear. If I just erase everything for you here, so you definitely get to know by yourself that this average is falling in front of 3. See? 3. Something which was in between 2 and 3 and 3 and 4. If you work out the average for these two, so you get the average for 3. Okay? It may. Look at the advantage and drawbacks. I'll share everything on the Google Drive, okay? Time series positive negatives. It is useful when forecasting data which has a regular seasonal pattern, as you just saw. Right? And the other advantage says it's a simplistic approach. Now, this is also part of your syllabus, okay? I don't know whether it's a simplistic or not. Drawbacks. It assumes past trends will continue. Now, what you did was you did extrapolation here. The prediction that you are doing for the next year was extrapolation that you did. But this was based on the past history. Now, the seasonal variation that you worked out for the month of February said that your sales will go down by, for example, 14 or 13. If the sales went down by 13 previous year, is it surety that this will go down again in February by 13? Say yes or no. Nobody can give this surety. Nobody can give this surety. That whatever has been in the past will continue. Not at all. Okay? So historic information may not be valid. Plus, in reality, it's not the trend, it's the action of the competitors and the market conditions like COVID-19 came in front of you. Now look at the trend of 2018, 17, 16, 15, 13, 12, 11, 10. All these past year are totally different after 2019. Agreed? Because of COVID-19. Your past trend is giving you a complete different message. And what has happened in the future, nobody knew it. What's going to happen when COVID will be there? Got it? So yes, it's not just what the past says. Market conditions also are important to consider. Done with this time series. I've covered this in a very detailed way, to be honest. I'll share this document with you people as well for your further studies. Now coming towards the next topic, which is regression. Where is regression? Let me just download regression slides. Where are you? Regression and correlation as well. Okay. Just wait, please. Information technology is a one that can be tested in your paper. Okay, now coming towards the next one is regression. Regression analysis is what? Regression analysis is another method to find out the trend. Regression is another method to find out the trend or the line of best fit. Regression is another method. Now, regression also gives you the trend, but through an equation of y is equals to ax, a plus bx. This is very much similar to the equation of total cost, if you remember. Total cost is equals to fixed cost plus variable cost into units. Very much similar to that. Yeah, the formulas will be given to you. The formulas of regression analysis will be given to you. Don't worry. Okay. So regression analysis also uses historic data and finds out the trend. Right? So how does this work now? How does this work now? It's simple. It's simple. There is a simple equation where you can find A and B through the formulas that are given here. Not difficult. You have done that in F2. I'm sure you've done that in F2. Have you? Yes. So you will find out A and B through the formulas. Now it is useful once again, you have a data of units and total cost. So one is an independent variable and second is a dependent variable. So X is independent and Y is dependent. I'll share, don't worry, I'll share. So you can see the quarterly data, for example. Okay. Now the best way, I think if this comes in a spreadsheet, so you need to use spreadsheet in that case. And what I feel is if you are given with two things like X and Y, the formula will be given. So formula requires you a lot of things like this is submission. You know that, right? Submission X, sum of X, sum of Y, sum of X and Y, sum of X squares. Okay. So it requires a lot of stuff. So for that, what you can do is that you can make a table. Units is independent. Whatever is independent is X. Whatever is dependent is Y. So you have one column, two column. These are given in the paper. The next three you can make by yourself. Like multiply this to work out XY because this will be used in the formula above. Make a column for X square. Just make X square. Just make Y square. Okay. Because you need X square, you need Y square, you need sum of X and Y. Yes. Done. So what I am saying is X, Y will be given to you independent, dependent. Make three further columns. X, Y multiply, X square, square it, Y square. And then the same. And then just add all to get the sum. Sum of X, sum of Y, sum of X and Y, sum of X square, sum of Y square. Formulas will be given to you. And then find out B through the formula, find out A through the formula. And once you do it, you have an equation in front of you. This is the equation where Y is total cost, A is, now basically A means point where the line cuts the y-axis. So to make it simple, kind of a fixed cost. If this is a graph and if this is the line, so this is basically your A. Point where line cuts the y-axis. This is y and this is x-axis. And where 9.1 is the variable cost or the gradient of the line, with which the line will go up. Okay. So this is a trend. This is a trend equation. This is a trend equation. This is a line through which you can understand the trend. Or I would say line of best fit. See, if this is a scattered data, so the trend is this line. So this line, this equation is representing this line. This equation is representing this line of best fit, the average one. So if this line is represented by this equation, as I said, this means you can extrapolate the line and predict anything in the future. Okay? Done, guys? Now, if you want to forecast for 80,000 units, so what you're going to do? fixed cost, for example, is this one. Variable into 80,000 units will give you a total cost of this one. That's extrapolation I did. Just understand this. I think just have a good understanding. That's okay. Got it, everyone? So if you see here, for example, you want to find out the cost for 70,000 units. So just extrapolate the line and you can estimate the cost for 70,000. That's what you do. Extend the line. That's extrapolation. Formulas are given, man, I'm telling you. I'll show you somewhere it is written as well. Okay? Now, remember, the stronger the connection will be between the two variables x and y, the stronger the connection will be between two variables x and y, the more these individual points will be close to the line, will be closer to the line. The better the connection will be between the two variables, the closer the points will be with the line. The syllabus says explain and apply. So maybe calculation. Now, so to find out whether the relationship between units and cost is stronger, you have a concept of correlation. As I said, if the relationship between two is high, so all the points will fall on this line. Otherwise, will be close to the line of trend or average. The question will state regression analysis. Simple. Like the one you listen, it may come like this as well. You use high-low method to separate variable and fixed costs, right? So maybe a question might come to separate variable and fixed costs using regression analysis. Very likely to come in the paper, regression analysis. So you will find out the value of A and B through the formula. A will be fixed cost and B will be variable cost. So now it's not just high-low that can come. Regression can also come. And it will be mentioned there. Okay. Now, so what is correlation? Correlation is something that tells you the connection between the two variables. Like units increases, cost will increase. So when there is a direct relationship between two variables, as one increases, it forces other to increase. That's the positive correlation between two variables, like units and cost. Cold weather and jackets. Colder the weather, more the jacket sale. Hot weather, sunglasses. Hotter the weather, more the sunglasses. Hot weather and use of AC. Hotter the weather, use of more AC. Positive correlation and vice versa, negative correlation. What's that? Colder the weather, less use of ice creams. Inverse. One is increasing, other is decreasing. So that's negative correlation. What is perfect positive? Means if one increases, if one variable increases by one, the other also increases by one. Perfect positive. What is perfect negative? If one increases by one, the other decreases by one. Same proportion. Same proportion. perfect negative. So let me tell you, the correlation answer will lie between -1 and 1. If it's -1 answer, it's perfect negative. If it's +1 answer, is perfect positive. If it is in between these two, it's partial correlation. Partial correlation. Okay? So we find out correlation through a formula, and this will be given to you in the paper. Sir, how we going to use this formula? Again, by the same calculation that we saw above. 5 columns, x, y, xy, x square, y square. Through the same 5 columns, you can work out. You can use this formula. So if your answer is -1, it's perfect negative. If it's +1, it's perfect positive. And if it's in between, it's partial. Eight is n. N is number of data. So you can see it's 8 years or 8 quarters data. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 8. Okay? Rizwan Mania has all the answers. Don't worry. Right? So if the answer is close to -1, not 1, close to -1, strong negative. If the answer is close to +1, strong positive. Okay? Yeah, remember, a 0 answer is no correlation at all, no connection at all. 0 correlation. Okay? No correlation. And if the answer is closer to 0 from negative side or positive side, we say weak negative correlation or weak positive correlation. Okay? It's correlation. The formula. What is coefficient? Correlation coefficient. Whatever answer you got for correlation, just square it. So this will become coefficient of determination. This will become coefficient of determination. Now, few minutes are left. Be with me. If the answer of R is 0.965, so it's closer to +1, it's strong positive correlation. Agreed? It's strong positive correlation. If you square this, the answer is 93.1%. You represent this in terms of percentage, okay? Coefficient of determination we represent in terms of percentage. So the answer is 93.1%. What it is? It tells you how much Y is dependent upon X. How much Y is dependent upon X. Which means 93% is the increase in cost because of units. So if units change, 93% change is because of units. 93% change in cost is because of units, and the remaining 7% is due to inflation, taxation, other factors. inflation, taxation. So coefficient of determination indicates how much percent Y will change because of X. Because of X. This is coefficient of determination. I hope, my friends, I've covered the new areas that can come in your paper. I gave you a really, really good recap of that. And the advantages says regression helps in prediction and forecasting. As I said here, it supports business decisions as well. It gives you the idea what's going to happen. And keeping that in mind, you can take up the future business opportunities in the market and can take the decisions. But it's a complicated and a lengthy procedure. It doesn't consider COVID-19, correlative factors. It's all historical based. Doesn't consider the qualitative factors. The health, people are getting sick. Your past result says that your sales will go up and people are getting sick. It doesn't consider qualitative factors. And yes, again, it assumes that the relationship identified by the historical data will remain the same. Always the cost will change by 93% because of units. That cannot be the case every time. Okay? So that's it. From my side, I made everything clear. Promises fulfilled. Listen very carefully the next plan now. Watch all the 5 days if you haven't. Available on ACCA Youth Vimeo channel. I'll share the link on the group. $1,000,000 plan. Now I'll share tomorrow through my Google Drive with all the 5 days handouts. Don't leave the group, otherwise I will not be responsible for that because lots of new things will come. Webinar has ended, but support will never end, even after the exams. My revision, grand revision, I'll share the details of that in the group, so be ready. Few chapters to read from the book. I'm showing you the book slide here. This is the BPP book. If you have to read this chapter 1, read this chapter 2, minimum ones, okay? You have to read chapter number 10. You have to read chapter number 15. You have to read chapter number 18. Chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 10, chapter 15, chapter 18. Okay? Just note it down. The $1,000,000 plans I will share in the WhatsApp group. I've shared the book chapter references. I hope the session went well for all of you. Guys, now what's your feedback for these 5 days? It's very important for me to see the feedback. The only favor I need is tell me how helpful these 5 days were, how much confidence these days brought in you, the techniques, the easy methods, $1,000,000 techniques, how to handle theory, drafting, calculations, OTs, section B, section C. Yes, please. I need your feedbacks. Are you satisfied? Was it worth it? Do you think I should carry on with these? Did I try to make F5 easier for you? Please share your feedbacks, everyone. So please remain active on the WhatsApp group. Thank you very much for your feedbacks. Do me just a favor I need once the session ends, because this is the last official session of ACCA. So once the session ends, ACCA wants your feedback. You want to give me a favor. So please share your feedback with ACCA. Once the session will end, hold for a few minutes. You will get a feedback form at the end. Just fill that feedback form. We'll be asking certain questions. Do share your experience of the webinar with me. I'll be really grateful to you people. I'll give my best till the last day. I'll be with you through the WhatsApp groups and everything. Make sure you are part of that. Don't leave the groups, and give your feedback to ACCA after the session. Will you give? Yes or no? Let me see how many yes coming here. Whatever your experience is. Thank you very much, friends. Thank you very much for being a wonderful, patient audience. Hope to see you again, but not in performance management. And be with me. Stay connected. This is my WhatsApp number. If you're not part of that, send me the WhatsApp. Do share your feedbacks. Remain active on WhatsApp group. Thank you very much. This is Rizwan Mania, your mentor for September 21 webinar. Signing off. Take care. Best of luck. Bye.